Hey, what's up, Coach? Happy Thanksgiving. How you doing today?
Great, Rob. Happy Thanksgiving to you. We're 30 hours away from what will be a monumental struggle in Michigan Stadium in front of a capacity crowd. And the game will determine who will potentially be the champions of the Western Big Ten Conference and certainly have impact on the college football playoffs. So we're looking forward to it. That game will be played between Ohio State and the University of Michigan in what I consider the greatest rivalry in sports.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll definitely touch base on that today. I know we talked before this, and you wanted to shed light on a couple charities that you've near and dear to your heart that you've donated to and been a part of and supported over the years.
Well, this game is a game of tremendous passion on both sides. And sometimes we lose perspective. It is still a game played by 18, 19, 20, 22-year-old young men that whose purpose is to get a degree in their chosen field at a great institution. And these are two great institutions that'll be playing on Saturday. But we want to keep it in perspective. Sports at its very best is an instrument of social change. And one of the that we have done is the enthusiasm people have for Michigan and Ohio State has given birth to a couple of charities, well, a lot of charities, but two specifically are the Chad Carr Pediatric Brain Tumor Center.
Yep.
I'm wearing this hat, which identifies my affiliation and my bias and my love for the University of Michigan, but also we were able to have an event with Regent Ron Weiser this summer, and we raised close to $500,000.
Wow.
In an effort to eradicate this disease that afflicts young children and takes them way too early. Coach, our great man, Coach Lloyd Carr's grandson, was taken from us early. And so we've all been involved in this, and we're raising money. And there will be things that happen as a result of this that it will impact on the cure for all cancers. We're excited about that. Every year, historically, I participated in an event in Columbus the Tuesday before the Ohio State game. It was originally started by the great John Hicks, captain at Ohio State, Outland Trophy winner, All-American, first-round draft choice of the New York Giants, successful businessman. I spoke at it several years in a row. This year I did a video because we're celebrating the anniversary of that great game between Michigan and Ohio State in 1973, which ended up in a tie, two undefeated teams. And that raises money for the Underfirth House. The Underfirth House is affiliated with the University of Ohio State's hospital, and it helps house those people or families that are there when their loved ones are having their heart surgery. And so that's a great event, and we've supported that for a long time. We've come together as two universities, two former former competitors, to raise money for that. We're proud of that. So if we have greatest respect for Ohio State University. It's a wonderful institution, and certainly it's an historic and great football program.
Yeah.
We have a special bias towards our school. We're the winningest football team in the history of collegiate athletics with 1,000 victories. We're proud of that. And Ohio State certainly is one of the top programs in the country. And annually, we play each other, and there's a lot at stake. And there's a great rivalry historically between the states on economic levels and in other ways. And so we're in the Midwest, and this is a big rivalry, and it means a lot to the people in Ohio and the people in Michigan, but the people that have been part of it, that have gone other places, have taken this rivalry with them, and they still embrace it. And the whole country recognizes and tunes into this game because it's so much fun to watch, because you get two teams playing at their very best, playing their very hardest in an effort to win this game.
Yeah, absolutely. Just highlighting Mott's Children's Hospital as well. When I walked on the University of Michigan football team, we went there and did a lot of work under Lloyd Carr. I know every year, every football team, University of Michigan football team has donated their time to Mott's Children's Hospital. If you get a chance, donate to them. Also, the blood drive, if you're a student for either the Ohio State University or the University of Michigan, make sure you're donating blood. And you're putting that kind of stuff forefront during this really competitive time versus our rivals that we also, I know you're going to go on to tell us why we respect those guys and why Michigan needs Ohio State and Ohio State needs Michigan. Before we get into the rivalry, Coach, I did want to touch on I know tomorrow you will go over your X's and O's and your statistics and all that stuff on 1050, but talk a little bit about the 2023 Michigan Wolverines, the adversity we've had to deal with, the resolve that you've seen out of them, and also how do we match up against the 2023 Ohio State Buckeyes? What do you expect out of Saturday, and what do you see transpiring?
The University of Michigan has won 11 games this season. So has Ohio State. So is Georgia. So is the University of Washington. So is Florida. And that's a monumental accomplishment. The fact that there are only 4 left is indicative of how difficult it is to go through the course of a season.
Yeah.
And triumph. The great challenge and the great to be a champion. The most difficult part of becoming a champion is being able to rise to the occasion every single week, emotionally, mentally, physically, and being prepared to play and give your very best against sometimes lesser competition who rises up and plays great against you. And sometimes certainly during the course of every season, there'll be times when things go against you. And if you can overcome that and be victorious, that is the mark of a champion. This team at Michigan, I think, has, in my estimation, with all the turbulence and all the controversy that has surrounded this year, their head coach was suspended for the first 3 games, and now the last 3 games. The last 3 games which will decide ultimately whether we are champions or not. And this team has been able to keep their eye on the ball, their eye on the prize. They've overcome tremendous adversity. I can't remember any team in history. Well, this penalty is unprecedented.
Absolutely.
We broke the rules. I'm not saying it's unjust, but it is a severe a severe penalty and precedent. And we go into this game at a great disadvantage without Coach Harbaugh. Make no mistake about it. Now, the one thing that we have that can offset that is the home field advantage. And that can be decisive. Social scientists have a lot of research on this, and the home field advantage is real. So our fans, I know, are going to be engaged. I do want to say to both sides that we need to respect each other. Go and cheer for your team. It's a wonderful spectacle. These are I mentioned that they're 2 great institutions. They're young men out there giving their very best, coaches that have dedicated their life to the profession and to teaching young men the great sport of football. So we've got to remember that. And remember that it's a glorious spectacle and embrace it.
I know we were just talking about the rivalry. We got cut off a little bit right there. You were talking about the disadvantage of losing Coach Harbaugh in such a tremendous game of great importance.
Well, it's a distinct disadvantage.
Yeah.
Jim Harbaugh has demonstrated that he's an excellent coach. I've known him since he was 9 years old. Look at his resume.
Yeah.
Outstanding high school player, great college player, great leader, captain at Michigan, played 14 years in the National Football League, comeback kid in Indianapolis, a gritty, tough guy, played with great ability and played with great resolve and intensity. And he also approaches coaching the same way. He's self-made. He started as an assistant for 1 year with the Raiders. Then he went down to San Diego as the head coach, Division III team, and he won there. He took a Stanford team that had been dormant and not really a dominant team for many years and made them relevant and competed at a high level, championship level. Then he went to the San Francisco 49ers and he led a team to the Super Bowl. And then he came and resurrected the Michigan program and brought us back into prominence. He's an extraordinary coach and he understands the game. And during the course of the game, he is the decider. He would decide timeouts, when to punt, when to block a punt, when to whether to receive or kick off, all those important decisions that are made. He has a great feel for the game. Like Ryan Day, he's an outstanding offensive coach, and he understands. He's been a quarterback, like Day, like Coach Day, and they have a feel for the game. And during the course of the game, they have the opportunity to recognize the opportunities where the defense might be vulnerable, and by the same token, provide leadership and help with the defense. So our leader is not with us.
Yeah,
we knew all week that we weren't going to have him, but it's disadvantage. But our great advantage is a home field advantage. Social scientists have found that the home field advantage is real. We are a championship team, and we have confidence in the veteran team, and we have great senior leadership. The kids are going into this game with the idea, with the belief that they will win and they will prevail. They do not underestimate Ohio State in any way. Ohio State has great players. They have Heisman caliber players, 2 or 3. And we have great players. So we expect a great struggle. Usually these games are decided by inches or a kick here or there, a field goal, missed field goal. My sense is that this game will go down to the wire, and the team that makes the fewest mistakes.
Absolutely.
And executes will win.
Execution is a big key. Other things that I was just thinking about while you were talking about coaches, trick plays, onside kicks, when to punt the ball, when to go for it on fourth down, critical stuff that the head coach, and especially Jim Harbaugh, who has a lot of experience, grew up in a coaching with his dad being a coach, who won didn't he win a national championship at Western Kentucky?
Western Kentucky.
And
yes, he did.
Yes, and then going and playing, and then being around all those coaches, and now he's doing the same thing for his son Jay. I mean, it's a family of football guys.
Well, it has the big X. X stands for experience, and there's only one way you get it, and that's through trial and error and years of playing the game and coaching the game and making mistakes and learning from those mistakes. And so Jim is a great coach, and we're going to miss him. Now, he's been around all week. And, we always say it's not what happens to you that counts. It's how you react to it. So we're going to have to rise to the occasion.
Now, what about the guys that we got, though? What about Blake Corum, J.J. McCarthy, who I know you love to talk about? Even our back Donovan Edwards. We got Cornelius. We got Roman. We got all these players. And then on the other side, they're running back. They're top wide receiver that's a Heisman candidate. Let's touch on some of those matchups and how they're going to affect Saturday.
Well, there are 17 players on Michigan's team that are projected as pro prospects. That's Georgia numbers. We haven't had that many. Well, that's the kind of, and of course we know Georgia has won the national championship the last 2 years in a row. I think J.J. McCarthy is an extraordinary talent. We know now that he's been hurt, and his right ankle was hurt. That's his. He's right-handed, so he pushes off on his right foot, and that has hindered him. And that's one of the reasons that he has not been as accurate, and we have not run him. I think he scrambled against and ran for 4 yards one time against Maryland. Now, he is a dual-threat quarterback. He has great feet, great speed, and he can run the ball. And Ohio State will have to account for him. My sense is that we're going to have designed run with J.J. McCarthy. I also want to see us flush him right or left, get him out, roll him out, threaten the perimeter, and run pass where the defensive backs are going to have to make a decision whether or not they come up and tackle them and let the receiver go or cover the receivers. And either way, if J.J. makes the right choice on the basis of what they do, then that will be good for Michigan and bode well for us. Corum has been a great player at Michigan. He is a great leader. He's committed, loves the school, came back when he didn't have to.
And he was handing out turkeys all over Ypsilanti all the past 2 days.
Well, he's a wonderful young man who's
Yeah.
got a sense of community and cares about people. And, all the kids on both sides are wonderful young men. I listened to Kyle McCord speak and along with the great Marvin Harrison, and they're wonderful young men. And when you hear them speak, you can't help but like them. And they profess and the right values and approach to life and the game. And so on both sides, there's great young people. There's great coaches on both sides. I think we're going to have to be perfect. Certainly turnovers always play a role, particularly in big games like this. We're going to have to play as perfect as we can. Our punter has been great. The most important play in football is what, Robbie?
Is the punt.
The punt.
The
punt decides field position. It decides a lot. You get one blocked and you will pay for it. Almost always you lose the game, the analytics tell us. If you get a punt blocks, particularly one they scoop and score. So our punter's been over 41 net yards per punt. Their punter has not been as done as well in terms of his average net punt. That's after the return. And that's critical. When you punt the ball, get the ball up, you want the opponent to have to go the long way. That'll force them to go in a long way, and perhaps they'll make a mistake. We'll give them a bad play, which would allow us to get the ball back in reasonably good field position, allow us to execute our offense uninhibited by poor field position. So it's critical punting is critical in all levels of football, and it'll be critical in this game. And we had a block punt last week and scored on it, and that proved to be the difference maker. That proved to be the difference between and allowed us to be victorious. There's going to be a lot of great players have played in this game over the years. I mean, great players, wonderful players, great coaches, legendary coaches. Anybody's been involved in this game as a coach has great respect for the team, and we have great respect for Ohio State. Coach Sean Beckler used to say, if you can beat them, it is greatly satisfying and rewarding, because if you can do that, you have beaten the best. And that's how we feel about them. And my sense is they feel the same way about us. People get in the, I respect you or don't respect you. I think Jim and Ryan Day should not be involved in that. They should respect each other. They don't have to love each other. I'm not asking them to be best friends. Certainly when you compete on this level and there's so much involved, it's difficult to have great jumps with your, but at the same time, sportsmanship, respecting each other, also respecting what the other person has accomplished and who he is. You should do that. And certainly Jimmy should have everybody's respect. And Coach Day also. Coach Day has proven to be a great coach. He inherited a great program, but he has sustained it. And he's recruited at a high level, and that's the most difficult thing to do. And so he comes in at 11-0, one of the great teams probably in the history of Ohio State University, certainly in Big Ten sports and collegiate sports. And it will be a great challenge. It will be a great challenge for Michigan.
Now, I'm looking forward to the sportsmanship, seeing Jimmy and Ryan shake hands after a little banter going back and forth this week. I know that obviously you don't like it, but I do like to see it a little bit, getting after each other in the media.
All right. Well, here's the most important thing: Jimmy Harbaugh is not going to throw one pass. Ryan Day is not going to hand the ball off. Ryan Day and Jimmy Harbaugh ain't playing.
Yeah, there wouldn't be 100,000 people.
It's J.J. McCarthy
and
McCord that are going to make the difference. But they should demonstrate to the communities and that you play collegial, and that's just how I look at it. We always had the greatest respect for Woody Hayes, his program, his coaches, players, and I believe they felt the same way about us. Coach Hayes told John Hicks, he said, John, when he was dying, you got to take care of the guys, because John was a leader in the community and the alumni, football alumni. And he said, if the guys are having trouble or need help and there's not an Ohio State guy around, find a Michigan guy, because the Michigan guys are just like us and they will help you.
Wow.
And the same thing is true. I feel the same thing is true about the Ohio State guys I have known. Now, this rivalry is intense.
Yes.
With capital I, intense. And what happens? And what happens in the outcome of this game will live with its combatants, the people involved, forever. And you only get so many chances. You only get so many at-bats. You know, I had 3 and was 1-1-1. And then subsequently I coached and I had a winning record as a coach, as an assistant coach with Coach Schembecker. But you embrace that record. It's important. And they give those gold pants out if you beat Michigan. And they have it means everything. And every team during the course of the season has been practicing for each other. They're preparing for other teams that week, at least a half hour, a minimum of a half hour.
Yeah.
Because you look forward to this game and you know that you have to be prepared, and you do everything in your within the rules, within your ability and within your power to win this game. You do the extra film study, you spend the extra hours, you do the extra rep, you do all those things.
I saw an old clip of Bo say that you guys he did something every single day to beat Ohio State. It wouldn't be the whole day, but they would make sure every single day they did one thing that way they would work on.
15-minute session.
Yeah.
Every day, where we would practice, the offense would practice against the Ohio State defense, the way they aligned.
Yep.
And the defense would do the same, regardless of who we were playing.
Now
that's how much it meant. That game means you prepare for it all year long.
And last thing I want to talk about, Coach, before we get onto the rivalry, I know you've talked to me about Travion Henderson. I'm looking forward to see what our defensive line does against their running back and offensive line. I'm looking forward to see what their senior linebackers, what is it, Eichenberg, Chambers. There's another guy too, that what they're going to do against Blake Corum, because Blake Corum, then he finds those extra yards. Once he gets to the next level, he falls forward, he keeps his feet moving, and he's shifty. He finds the extra yards that linebackers can eliminate if they are in position. So that, and then what would you do to Marvin Harrison? I mean, you got to get hands on him. You got to double cover him. You have to have somebody underneath. You have to have somebody over top. And then after that, Coach, we'll get on to the rivalry.
Well, Harrison presents a special problem.
Yeah,
I think that our number one presents a special problem for them.
Fast.
And I think I will guarantee you there might be somebody as fast as he is on the Ohio State football team, but nobody's faster than he is.
Yeah.
He's extraordinary, and he runs good routes. And then Marvin Harrison, I would kind of compare him to Tyreek Hill, our guy. Small, quick, run past you, run by you, great hands, makes the big play, and extraordinary talent. Marvin Harrison is like CeeDee Lamb. He can dominate the game.
Yeah.
Every 50-50 ball, he's 6'3", 6'5". He has proven himself to be certainly a lethal power, a lethal participant. I mean, he can take you out. They can run with him. They're going to devise special ways to get him the ball. Now, for me, the way we have to stop him is, can we and will we get pressure on their quarterback with a 4 or 5 man rush?
Yes.
If we cannot, and we have to single cover him, boy, that's tough. That's a lot to ask. It's proven to be impossible for anybody, even the best defensive backs, because he's an extraordinary talent, explosive and gifted, and all the things I talked about. Great route runner, catches the ball, competitor. He possesses all the traits that everything check off what a great receiver is. He is, and has proven to be a great leader too, I believe, for Ohio State. So if we get pressure on the quarterback, though, that changes things. It makes the quarterback reset his feet. I think that when a quarterback like JJ, he could beat you with his feet. One of the ways he beats you is not just by running out of the pocket. It's by when he gets pressure in the pocket, his ability to reset his feet within the pocket, move within the pocket, get his eyes downfield, and make an accurate throw to an open receiver. He's proven the ability to do that. And I don't, McCord is not quite there. At my estimate now, I do not, he's a winner. And a guy who's been playing with Harrison since high school, a great leader, and he has gotten better every single game. And he made the throw to beat Ohio State. When his chips were down, he made the play. That beat Notre Dame, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
He made the play to beat Notre Dame. And so he has led his team to an undefeated season. So he's proven himself to be a great quarterback. I'm not saying it's going to come down to the performance of each quarterback because it's a team sport. And everybody has to do their job to the best of their ability, successfully, in a unified, coordinated fashion to be successful. But if JJ plays great, then we will be hard to beat.
Absolutely.
If their quarterback plays great, they will be hard to beat. Now, I think that running back they have is special. I love Corum. Corum's been a great leader for us. He breaks tackles. He's got great speed. He can hurt you. And he's proven that. And I have confidence in him. He scored a lot of touchdowns. He's a leader. He's tough. He's really tough, strong, quick, fast, powerful, breaks tackles. Their guy is extraordinary. He is explosive. He didn't play at the beginning of the season, but boy, since he's played, he's been a factor. And when he gets the ball, he can go the whole way.
Yeah.
So he can hurt you. So when we tackle him, we cannot allow him to break tackles. We have to tackle him. We have to secure our tackles. We've got to run through the ball carrier. Can't lunge at him. Can't put our head down. By the same token, our backs on contact have to continue to move their feet and break tackles and come out the other end. So both teams represent challenges on the defensive side with these great players for their opposing defense. And conversely, off the offenses have to contend with some great defensive players.
Well,
when it comes down to it,
no, go ahead.
When it comes down to it, we're going to have to see where they are weak and exploit them defensively. When you blitz, you typically give up an open zone, weak side flat or something like that, and we have to get there. If they let it go, we should try to run by them, see if we can hit some big ones. Passes, I think we can do that. Stretch the field. Also, we got to go to make accurate throws with the intermediate routes. You tight ends. Token, we have to make them take away what they do well offensively and make them beat us with things they ordinarily don't do well. So that's how we have to approach it, and they're going to approach it the same way. These are two evenly matched teams.
Balanced.
So it's hard to predict the outcome. We'll let the pundits do that. I have confidence in our team because I think they're resilient. I think they're tough. I think they've been champions, and they've been there, and they have goals. And I think the goal is to do more than just win the Big Ten championship. They want to do that. Certainly, that's the most important step in the process. But they want to do more. They have plans, ambitions, and their aim has been steady. They've kept their eye on the ball.
Yep.
So I have great confidence in them. By the same token, Ohio State doesn't take well losing to Michigan. And so they have something to prove. And they will come up here with the idea that they're going to prove it.
Yeah.
So it's going to be exciting to watch.
And the great thing about sport is that we will find out. We will get to find out Saturday at 12 o'clock when you always say what happens at Saturday at 12 o'clock.
We don't toe will meet leather, and I don't care about winning the debate.
Yeah.
We can argue forever about what's going to happen, who's going to do what. What's ultimately going to decide is the performance on the team. Everybody has to do their job. Everybody has to execute. I will guarantee you this. Every man in scarlet and gray and every man in maize and blue will give the best account of themselves they can. When you play in this game, your feet don't touch the ground. You run harder and faster than you've ever run. You hit as hard as you can, harder than you've ever hit. And you play for Michigan, and they will play for Ohio State. And there will be passion on that field. And it's going to be exciting to watch. That's why this is a great team, a great game. That's why this is the great rivalry we talk about, because of the passion that each institution and the teams bring to the game and the desire to win and the importance they put on that.
Yeah. And just before we get to the rivalry, just a couple other people to the Michigan faithful I want to make sure you guys are watching out for. Our whole offensive line, all those guys that came back for their fifth year or maybe just their senior year, guys that could have went pro. Even, there's a couple of them out there. We got Colston Loveland. If Donovan Edwards does what he did last year, which would be beautiful to see, he's been very patient, positive, encouraging. I mean, what a teammate to have in that backfield with Blake Corum. I mean, if he can break a couple and do what he does in big games, that will be another key to success for us. Guys.
He's also a threat catching the ball.
Edward. Coach,
if they dual threat back.
Though if he gets matched up on the right linebacker, he's gone. He can get loose. And then we got 8 defensive linemen, Coach. I mean, every single one I could name off, but just a few that I've seen. I mean, Derek Moore, Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant, who I saw get some Heisman votes. He was 10th on the Heisman after he ran that guy down in Penn State.
One of the great plays I've ever seen at University of Michigan.
I think he was the 3 technique on the same side. He got hands on his guy, got penetration, gets off the block, and then runs down a guy. He runs past all the linebackers, all the defensive backs. I mean, it was unbelievable.
Extraordinary effort. Perseverance demonstrates all the things that are required to win and play championship football. Never give up. Play as hard as you can. Hustle. Get to the ball. Unbelievable. Just was extraordinary. Yeah, I like Harrell coming off the edge.
Yep.
They have a great player coming off the edge. T starts with I think of T. It starts with a Hawaiian name. A marvelous player. I love Mason Graham inside. Boy, he's tough and great against the run, and he functions well in there. Conversely, I love Joshua Stewart, number 17. I think he's McGregor.
That's McGregor. Joshua Stewart's number 5.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
They're both wonderful players. I'm sorry, 17. I think 17 has gotten better and better and better every week.
You can just see him progressing throughout the season, Coach.
He's been a force.
His confidence is he reminds me of like a Max Crosby, kind of plays like him a little bit.
Yeah, well, he's got tattoos, so
yeah, white guy with tattoos.
Yeah, well, they all got tattoos, but he's been great and a hustle guy, and I told you about I think the importance of those edge guys getting pressure. But conversely, we got to get Henderson back and Hilton. We got to have those guys back. We need help at tackle, and they're supposed to be back, and we need strength. Because we have not, our pass pro, we've had some speed rushes, we've been beaten. And so we got to get our offensive line back healthy for this critical game because we have to defend JJ. And we got to sustain our block. Sustain. In football, the defensive lineman is going to explode into you, but then you engage him. And when he tries to relieve pressure on you to go make the tackle, if you sustain, that's when you bury him. And that's how you do it. So you got to sustain. Keep moving your feet. Just don't bounce off them. Sustain the block. So this game, football is a lot of it's decided what happens inside that tackle box. And the games are won up front. That's an old cliche, but it's true. And there's, on both sides, they have outstanding front sevens.
You play the game. Play the game inside out, that's for sure. I mean, Stainer-Sill, Will Johnson, Roman Wilson. We didn't even talk about those guys, but, I mean, unbelievable talent.
On the perimeter, the game has changed, of course. A lot of games played out on the perimeter. You want to get the ball to these athletes, these great athletes in space. That's why open field tackling is critical to success. And you tackles in the open field with athletes because they'll go the distance or hurt you badly. with big plays. So whichever team tackles the best in the open field has the best chance of winning. Because you can't, you got to wrap out when you got guys like Harrison and, all these great players they have. And the same thing is true with our receivers. You got to wrap these guys up. Now, the receivers, by the same token, got to get open and they got to catch the ball. We've seen in pro football a lot of drops. Kansas City, it cost them the game.
Yeah.
You gotta catch the ball. That's your job. You catch the ball. And you look the ball in, you catch it with your eyes, you get your hands on the ball and you concentrate. And those things will be critical of success in this game.
Now,
we've had some drops, and so have they. And we gotta catch the ball. When we have a chance to make a play, we got to make the play.
Well, we got to make the plays. This is the game where legends are created and names are made, and we're talked about for the next 50 years of what you do on this Saturday. So it's going to be exciting to watch. I'm pumped up just to. I know I'm going to head to the game. I don't know. Are you going to be able to make the game this week, Coach?
I'm not certain, but I'm certainly going to be there emotionally, and my heart will be out in that field. As I tell our team, when you run out in that field, I run out there with you. And the same thing is true for the Ohio State loyal.
Absolutely.
Ohio State runs out there; their team is with them.
You've already told me you think this is the greatest rivalry in sports. You've talked about a little bit about why, and I know you'll get back into that. But when did it start, Coach? Was this the 10-year war? Was this 1969, or has this been since the beginning of college football?
It's been forever. It's been really since we started to play Ohio State. There's been a great rivalry between states. I talk about that. There's an economic rivalry. There's a normal rivalry that neighbors have against each other. That's psychology. You want to beat your neighbor when you compete against them. Do better than he does. And we had a war over Toledo. We tell that joke in Ohio State, the state of Ohio. Got Toledo, and Michigan won because Ohio got Toledo. But we love Toledo. A lot of great Michigan fans in Toledo, and we'd be happy to have Toledo come and annex into the state of Michigan anytime. But the game's been around forever. Paul Brown was a great coach at Ohio State, and Michigan had their great teams under Chrysler and those people. And this game has been a focal point and important. And if you typically for years and years, the winner of this team won the championship and had the right to go to the Rose Bowl. And then later now the right to go to the college football playoffs in the championship game in Indianapolis. So much has been on it. The stakes are so high. It's always been, it just doesn't go away. It's not, it hasn't been a short-term thing. The great rivalries in sports sometimes between athletes and their teams, Magic and Bird, Celtics and Lakers. That rivalry disappeared when those players left. Not that special feeling when you play, but it's not what it was, certainly not the intensity, because they're not playing for the championship.
Yeah.
For the last 3 years, these two teams are playing for the championship. The outcome of this game decides who will go on to Indianapolis, and then if they can win there, to the college football playoffs. Those are huge stakes. And so the 10-year war ignited it. Coach Hayes was the dominant coach in the conference. And then his young student, former player, former babysitter showed up at the University of Michigan. And then he was the architect of one of the greatest upsets in the history of college sports in 1969. When Michigan beat a team that was heavy favorites, 24-12. I think a sports writer in Detroit wrote, Joe Falls, who's no longer with us, wrote Ohio State 490, Michigan 0. At that time, the Minnesota Vikings had a great team, and he wrote Ohio State. 100, Minnesota Vikings 7. There was great regard for that team. And Woody went around telling people afterwards that was the best team he ever had. And it was derailed by that upset. And that started it. And then, of course, my year, we played a 10-10 tie. Both teams were undefeated coming into the game, highly regarded, highly rated. We played for the right to win the game, to win the championship. The winner would go to the Rose Bowl. Ended up a 10-10 tie. They roared ahead 10-0. We came back the second half, tied the score, intercepted at the end, kicked a field goal and missed, which would have won, but there was no overtime. Had there been overtime, I remember much, I believe we would have won. Had a chance to go out and play SC. Ohio State did beat them soundly, but because of the tie, we were both relegated to, it was a mythical championship, of course, and I point that out to people. We didn't know playoffs back then, but Notre Dame and Alabama had played in the Cotton Bowl. Notre Dame prevailed. They made Notre Dame the national champs. But there are lesser polls, even at the end of the bowls. Now, we were denied the right to go to a bowl. We went nowhere. We sat at home. An undefeated team sat at home, went nowhere, and we're still bitter about that. It was a vote by the athletic directors, and we sat at home. We did not go anywhere. But there are some polls that afterwards, two lesser polls that rated Ohio State and Michigan as co-national champions. And then subsequently, of course, we had the great game in 2006, the day after Coach Schembechler's passing, where Ohio State played homage to him in Ohio Stadium, and that was a beautiful tribute they gave us. They called it one of the games of the century, and it was a high-scoring game. And then, of course, the game when J.T. Barrett was the controversial call, the first down call. Coach Myers was prostrate on the ground because couldn't look at the outcome. And they gave Ohio State the first down. And had we stopped them there, Michigan would have been victorious down there. In the last three games, or the last two games, have been between undefeated teams, great teams, skilled teams, teams well endowed, great players on both teams. Michigan has prevailed. And that's why if you can beat them three times in a row, that's an amazing accomplishment, And the rivalry, we should embrace it. The rivalry will go on. It'll never go anywhere as long as Ohio State and Michigan have great programs and they border each other. It will be a great rivalry. Now, we never minimize our rivalry with Michigan State. If we can't beat them, we cannot win the state of Michigan. And then at the end of the year, we have this wonderful rivalry. So it's the passion in you, in the fans, and in the players. It's wonderful. It's exciting. During the course of this game, we're all going to experience highs, lows, exhilaration. We'll be depressed. We'll be unhappy. We'll be delighted. Bo, you say we might lose this game 13 times during the course of this game because that's how it's going to be. It's going to be a seesaw game, but we shall prevail the 14th time. Yeah, and then we will win the game. And that's how you enter into it, and that's what makes it such a great rivalry. All these things I'm describing, great players, great teams, a history, and the excitement of two really well-schooled, well-coached teams with wonderful players from two great institutions. Boy, it's a lot of fun. I can't wait for it. Look forward to it. Yeah. And my great hope is that we're going to come out on top. But I know both sides will give a good account of themselves. I'm confident of that.
Yeah, some other things to note, just that I thought are cool over the years, that you can either talk about or you don't want to talk about. In 1969, that was one of your recruiting visits. You were there on that day, on that game. You were on the field. They tore down the banner in 1973. You guys didn't even know about it because you were Bo and Woody were doing gamesmanship. 1977, they tried to do it again. Obviously Charles Woodson versus David Boston, that whole thing. Ray, all the Jim Harbaugh calling a shot, saying we're gonna beat Ohio State, and then
guaranteeing victory. That's Jimmy. That is Jimmy.
Yeah.
I remember Bo was greatly upset about that. He called him in and said, "Okay, you shot your mouth off." He said, "Now let's live up to it.
Yep.
We're going to live up to it. We're not taking it back. We're not going to apologize. But you have taken this on, and you've boasted, and you've guaranteed victory. So now let's do it. Let's do the things that are required to do it.
Yep.
Let's not just talk. Let's do it. And that's how he handled it. He certainly wasn't happy about it, I don't think. But once it was done, we couldn't put the toothpaste back in the tube. I remember in '69 there was an ion, I think, in the air. It was special. It was atmosphere I'd never felt. People at the stadium are going to feel something special this Saturday.
Yeah.
It's going to be an excitement. It's going to be an anticipation in the air. The atmosphere will be thick with anticipation, and that was a special day. You felt like something special was going to happen. You sensed it. It was extraordinary. I think the stars were aligned correctly, and the universe had decided that Michigan was going to prevail. I don't know what it was, but there was just something special that day. A special feeling. Feeling. And then, of course, in these other games that you discussed, we didn't know they tore the banner down. Bo had kept us in the locker room. He wanted them to go first, and they did. And they tore the banner down. We weren't aware of it until after the game. I don't know if we would have changed the outcome. That was a 10-10 tie game. Then our guys decided 3 or 4 years later, when Woody was coming in, that they were going to go out there and defend the banner. So you saw a lot of older guys, just out of pro football, many of them, in varsity jackets defending the banners. But as I told you, here's my advice to anybody that wants to hit a football player in a uniform with a helmet on. You're probably going to come out of it worse for the wear.
Yeah, absolutely.
Probably break your hand. So it's not a smart thing to do, but we don't want to encourage that. We want the game to be played
in between the
ball
lines.
Snapped.
Yeah.
And when the whistle blows, when the ball is dead. That's it. And then you go back, and then we go again. And then we go again. And then we go again.
Absolutely. Some of it's good for the game, and some of it's bad. You know, when that one offensive lineman's flicking off the stands that one year in Michigan Stadium and all that stuff, and they lose a great player, and, you know, it looks bad on TV. It's just not good for the brand of the game. I mean,
maintain your poise, be a good sportsman. You know, look at when the ball is, on the field, you try to defeat the guy.
Yeah.
You try to hit him hard. You try to knock the crap out of him. You do it the right way. You do it legally. You do it within the framework of the rules. You play as hard as you can. But that's it. Forget about that other stuff. We don't need to talk. We don't win the debate. We win the game.
If you're one of the few people that listens to this, and you want to get pumped up for the game, check out Big Ten Network Friday night. I'm sure they're going to be playing tiebreaker, and they're going to be talking about that 1973 game and how important it was to the rivalry and how pissed off and bitter Bo got after we got voted. We got voted out.
Censored by the Big Ten. It was unfair. Truly unfair. But people that didn't know us, that never saw us play, didn't know anything about us, decided we weren't good enough. We were undefeated. Some of those teams we had beaten soundly. But that was a political thing, and it should be decided on the field by the kids. And the most important thing to me, the focus I have is on the players and the kids. I told you before, if Ryan Day was on one side, Jim Harbaugh was on the other, if Jim was allowed to coach, but there was nobody in the middle, I wouldn't give you $5 for a ticket. I wouldn't give you a penny for a ticket. The game is the players and watching them there, and this is going to be a marvelous. Those two great uniforms, great histories, great traditions, with everything at stake. I mean, it's almost Shakespearean. It's a perfect setup for a classic.
Well, just talking about highlighting some of the stuff that, furthered the rivalry. Obviously, Desmond Howard posing for the Heisman, Charles Woodson having punt return, winning the Heisman as a defensive player. And then the last thing I want to talk about is that 1969 game. You actually became friends and played with the guy that had probably, I don't know. I want to highlight this because this stat line is one of the craziest stat lines I've ever heard, and the most important rivalry game in the history of rivalries ever is Barry Pearson. If you could just touch on that a little bit when you were a recruit watching that in stands. Yeah,
well, Barry Pearson became a great friend from St. Ignace, Michigan, which is just in the UP, north of the Great Bridge, the Mackinac Bridge up there. Barry grew up there, came down to Ann Arbor, eventually found his way in the starting lineup as a defensive halfback, came as a quarterback. He played that game, and he had 3 interceptions in the biggest game of the year for a team that was a decided underdog in Michigan Stadium. And then he had 2 punt returns within the 5-yard line that really broke their back and really decided the outcome of the game. And now a lot of great performances out there by a lot of great Michigan players.
Yep.
And, Ohio State was loaded, and I don't mean to diminish what they did because it's a team game, and a lot of people contributed to that victory. But Bo said in the New York Times afterwards it was the greatest performance he's ever seen by a collegiate athlete, and it was. He was in the zone.
Yep.
And we might see one of those performances this week, and hopefully the guy will be wearing that beautiful crowned headgear.
Yes, sir.
And not that scarlet and gray headgear, but that could decide the outcome. And that was marvelous. Of course, Woodson is one of the great players to ever play at Michigan, and the same with Desmond. And the pantheon of great players, they're up there. Greatest of the great. We've got a lot of great players, greatest of the great. And I really feel like J.J. McCarthy is that caliber of player. I think he's the best quarterback in the history of Michigan.
I was going to say.
I love Henny. I love Elvis. I love Bob Tepius. Tom Harmon won the Heisman. He was, in effect, a single wing quarterback, halfback. We've had some great guys. Collins played a long time in the National Football League. And, of course, the great Tom Brady. And no one will ever be as great as he was. He was still evolving at Michigan. Wonderful player at Michigan, but really wasn't a dominant player yet. The player he became, he was on the way to becoming the greatest football player in history. And we love Tom Brady, revere and respect him, love him. But this Henny is special, I think, J.J. McCarthy, a special guy.
Yeah.
Chad Henne, of course, I think of the time he came out and really brought us back to beat Michigan State when he had one arm hanging. His left arm was hanging off his shoulder in a gutty performance. So this game, on both sides, we've seen some great performances. They've had some tremendous quarterback performances in the past to beat us. And I think that you'll see that this Saturday on display. Great effort, great performances, and that's all part of this great rivalry. I go back to Woodson. What a magnificent player he was, two-way player, Heisman Trophy winner, and a special person who has been very, very generous in many ways, financially and other ways, to Mott Hospital. So we love Charles Woodson, and he makes good wine and spirits too. Yeah. So we love Charles, and we love Monier because he's a devout Michigan man and fan, and demonstrates, like Desmond, a certain bias. But people know that going in, so we mean no disrespect to others, but we love our school. And
I love when they put him right up there next to Urban and let him talk for a little while.
Urban respects Charles,
of course,
and Urban Meyer's the greatest coach in statistically. He's the greatest coach in modern football era after 1984, when the college football changed and they had to start to be on TV all the time. He had a tremendous record, and I loved listening to Urban because he has great insight in the game, and I'm interested in how he looks at things, and I learn when he talks. I learn from him.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that wraps up kind of the rivalry. Like I said, check out Tiebreaker on the Big Ten Network. That's a great flick to watch going into this game. Just wanted to get your thoughts on another rivalries outside of Michigan. I got some great rivalries written down here, and I wanted to let you see what you thought about them. We're from Michigan, so Red Wings, Avalanche, Auburn, Alabama, Lakers, Celtics, Yankees, Red Sox, Duke, UNC. Those are ones that just come to my mind as far as teams that play each other. What do you think's next up?
Duke, UNC live in the same town.
Yeah,
great basketball programs, have great coaches, great tradition. So that's a great rivalry, no question about it.
Yeah,
means a lot.
Oklahoma, Texas, Red River rivalry too.
Red River rivalries historically been great. Often Oklahoma always got a lot of players from Texas. And those two teams for a long time, and they're still traditional powers.
Yep.
And that's been a great rivalry. Certainly the Avalanche and Red Wings we grew up with, that was magnificent. Those guys went after each other in every way you could go after each other. And that means fists and try to bite the other guy and every other thing. I mean, those guys were they were amazing games, but highly competitive, and the competition was great. Hockey has a fighting ethic, which I don't necessarily agree with, but that was great rivalry. Michigan State, Michigan's a great rivalry. I never diminish the importance of that. I live in this state, means too much to both of our schools. Great rivalry, great competition. Washington State played for the Apple Cup. Oregon State. You can go on and on.
Yeah.
But I think this one transcends those others because Alabama, Auburn, of course, it's not good, but they shoot each other down there.
Yeah.
They're shooting at each other. I mean, that game would mean so much that families they get emotional down there, and that's an unbelievable rivalry, and almost goes in the wrong direction. Should have a healthy rivalry, and they've had that too, and that's been a great rivalry. Of course, Alabama's been dominant now for quite a long time.
Well, I know you talked about Bird versus Magic. I had a whole bunch of these written down: Tiger versus Nicholson, Palmer, Nicholas, Federer, Nadal, Ronaldo, Messi, Frazier, Ali, Brady, Manning. But just in the idea of a heavyweight bout, which we're going to see on Saturday, that Frazier Ali, you grew up, you were in college during all that when that was going on. That battle was, that's how you hate somebody, you build somebody up, but then after the game, you beat each other up so much, you end up respecting and hugging each other. And it's a whole different, the fans don't understand it because they're just, going after, each other, and they've never played in the game like that. But when you give it your all like that, and you go against somebody that toe to toe that is also doing the same thing, you come out of that with a different type of respect for that person.
Well, the great enthusiasms of life are things you invest emotion in. Your family, any games you play, or a business, company. So when you have a lot invested in it emotionally, when you have put time in, when you care deeply about it, when you do all things that are required to do well, to succeed, and be successful, the outcome means a lot to you. Certainly, Ali is one of the great athletes that ever lived. He was an extraordinary man in many ways. I had a chance to meet him twice. And then I met Joe Frazier also once. Joe Frazier is perhaps the toughest man ever put on the face of the earth. And when they went at each other, both of them paid a tremendous price, too much of a price. But those battles were unbelievable. And those two guys, when they went at each other, it was for keeps. And unfortunately, I think it damaged them both. There was too much. I don't love boxing, but you also got to respect what they did. And at the end of those, and you said it, Rob, at the end of those matches, and there was no great love between those two guys. They hugged each other out of deep respect and the bond that exists between competitors.
Absolutely.
And that's how I feel about Ohio State. So it's a lot for these guys that haven't been in the arena, and shoot their mouth off and say bad things about the other school, the other people. But the guys who played in this, that understand it, respect each other.
Yeah.
And I want the fans to look at it that way too. And root like hell for Michigan, root like hell for the Buckeyes, but also respect the other guys. We're not going to demean them. We're not going to say bad things about them. We're gonna try to have a healthy competition. And remember, there's 18, 19, 21-year-old kids. We all make mistakes, and they're going to make some mistakes during the course of this game. But we're going to stick by them. We're going to stick by our team, and it's going to be a great competition.
Great. Now, the last game I got for you, Coach, is who would you? It's kind of a spin off another game that's out there, which I'll leave that out of it. But it's you got three people. You got to pick three things. Who would you build a program with? Who would you have on your? You're an AD. You're an athletic director. Who would you build a program with? Who
That's
would
scary.
you? Yeah. Who would you have on your short list? And then who would you fire to get that one guy in? And I don't know if you're. We'll see
I'm
if
not
you're
firing anybody, but
we'll see if you're PC on this or what. But how about Woody, Urban, and Tressel? Who are you going to build that program with? Who are you going to bet? Who are you going to?
Woody's the father of that program.
Yeah,
Woody was extraordinary. Woody and Bo were before all this, a lot of craziness. Before the big money came in, heck, they would have coached for nothing. Those guys.
yeah,
And Woody saw himself, like Bo, as an educator and a teacher, and so did Jim and Urban. I'm certain of that, and want the best for their athletes. But these guys were special, and they went around. Certainly in the state of Ohio, Woody Hayes was revered, and you couldn't find a high school coach or a community that Woody Hayes didn't help in some way over the course of his career at Ohio State. And the people that he had great loyalty and love for the people that played for him, but also for the communities and for the state that he represented, and his competitive nature, sort of transcended sport like Bo. Bo had a deep impact on the community, on the Midwest, and on the country, and a great impact on coaches for how he was, how he deported himself, how he embraced the rules, the success he had, his discipline, his team, the toughness, the way they executed, the way they played. So if I was going to build a program, I got Woody Hayes as a young man, I'd take Woody. But you can't make a bad choice there, Rob.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Jim Tressel did wonderful things. Baldwin Wallace College, he grew up holding the great Lou Groza. When he'd come over, he was a little boy, he'd hold the balls for him. When Groza kicked the ball, the great Cleveland Brown. And, Tressel earned his way. And Urban at one time told me that when I met him at Sound Mind, Sound Body probably 10 years ago, he told me, he said, without Bo, I would have never been successful. I said, what do you mean by that? He said, when I got the head job, at my first head job at Bowling Green, I had no idea how to be a head coach, how to delegate, how to approach it, player coach relationships, management techniques, all those things. He said, I called Bo and I relied on him, and he mentored me and he helped me. And the reason I was successful at Bowling Green and later on was because of Coach Schembeckler. And so that's how Bo was. That's how Woody was. They wanted to help other coaches, and they cared about people, and they want to educate kids. They thought themselves to teach teamwork, fair play, play together, all that good stuff. So not a bad choice, but, Woody, it was a truly special guy, and I owe Woody debt of gratitude because he taught my coach how to coach.
Yep.
And every day of my life, I rely on what my coach taught me and who he was, Coach Schembeckler. So I'd probably pick him, but I couldn't make a bad choice there. Those are all three great coaches. And, greatness is greatness. It's hard to differentiate between great, but you're great, you're great. You can argue about who's the greatest, but they're all great.
Well, then, all right. I know I'll change the game a little bit because I see you're not going to fire.
You don't like that answer.
Hey, I get it.
Fire
but what about?
You're talking about great coaches. Who's going to fire them?
Nobody.
Nobody. You got to work to keep them.
Yeah.
Make them happy.
Okay. Well, how about who would you build a program with? Who would you have a bottle of Charles Woodson wine with? And who would you coach for out of Bo, Lloyd Carr, and Jimmy?
Well,
build a program with Bo.
Yeah, Bo. Bo was, let me tell you about Bo. He was my coach, my mentor, father figure, a man I loved. I told you, never day goes by we don't rely on him. That's who he was to me, above everybody. The greatest coach to ever coach anything, anytime, anywhere, about anybody. That's my opinion. That's how I feel about him. I have great loyalty to him. He was great to me, great to my family. Magnificent man, great teacher, loved him. Lloyd Carr was my colleague and friend. And I'm also grateful to him for his great contribution to Michigan as a head coach. So Bo was my mentor, father. Lloyd was like my brother. And then I'm grateful to him that when he became the head coach, that he carried on the tradition and he delivered. And he did a great job, had great teams, and I love him. And then I've known Jimmy Harbaugh since he was 9 years old. His father was on the staff when I played. And then when I came back as a graduate assistant, I coached with his father, really. I've known John since he was 11. Joni since she was 6, and their mother, Jackie, since I've known Jimmy. So I watched Jimmy grow up. So Jimmy would be like a son or a little brother to me. And I love Jimmy and what he's accomplished. And I'm a supporter of his. And I would do anything for him. I shall never abandon him. I will be loyal to him forever because he's one of us. He's a son of Michigan. And he's part of the band of brothers. We are together. He's a Michigan man like us. And I love him. Doesn't mean he doesn't make mistakes on occasion. We all do. We're all human. But I think he's a great coach. And I'm grateful to him for coming back, restoring the Michigan as a power and bringing us back to excellence. So that's how I feel about those three guys. And I'd follow, you named all 6 of them, I'll get in the foxhole with any of those guys. And I'll have a glass of wine with any of them and congratulate all of them for being extraordinary men and men of great accomplishment.
Absolutely. I think that you said it very well, Coach. All those guys are unbelievable leader of men, leader of programs, have done unbelievable things for the University of Michigan and Ohio State, and the rivalry kept this thing going in the right direction. That's probably a really good place for us to kind of stop. One thing I do want to say is if you like what you heard here, one of the reasons why we started this thing, and I've been talking to my dad about doing this for a while, is because of all the great reviews I get about how he does on 1050 on Fridays at 4:30 with Jamie Morris. So
my daughter Molly loves it. But of course, I can say anything, and my daughter Molly is the most loyal person that ever lived. To a fault, maybe. How about that? But yeah, we have a lot of fun. We talk with Jamie at 1050, the local radio station. At 4:30, you can pick it up on the computer if you want. Every Friday before the game, I recruited Jamie Morris.
Yep.
Became one of the greatest ground gainers in Michigan history. And we talk about the game and what we think it's going to take to win. At the same time, review some statistics that really give you a strong indication where the strengths and weaknesses of teams are and what they're probably going to do and how they're probably going to approach a game. So I think it's important that you manage by the numbers and everything you do. Whether it's your household budget or business or a sports team or a sports entity, you got to look at the data. So that's what we do, and then we try to fire the fans up. This is a game where you don't have to fire anybody up because they are fired up. Right now, we try to keep calm. We try to be ready. There's a storm coming, and we got to be prepared to give our best. We got to be prepared to be excellent. We've got to be prepared as fans to support our team and generate enthusiasm in the stands, and that'll manifest itself in how loud we cheer for them and encourage them to do well, and when they make great plays or when we need them to stop Ohio State during the course of the game, and then the players have to be businesslike and not get too high too soon. I used to say to my players, let's not leave it. The adrenaline, the emotion gets so high. When you go to warm up and the stands are filling up and Ohio State's down there, you start to get really excited. But you got to keep them calm down because your adrenaline gets so high, you almost come out of the warm-ups exhausted because your passion and so high. It's like you've already been in a fight, but you got to keep them calm. And certainly the quarterback cannot be too emotional. They have to make good choices. So you got to keep them steady, businesslike, ice cold, ice in their veins. And then when the game comes, boy, then you fly. And you do everything you can to win within the rules. In one of the greatest games that ever invented, collegiate football. It's a great spectacle. Look at the passion. Look at the passion that's involved in this. Look how much people care. What a great event. It's so exciting to be part of it. I'm grateful still to have a chance to watch it and be part of it in a small way and watch these two wonderful teams, both 11-0. Remember what I said. That in itself is an amazing accomplishment. To win 11 games, not easy to do. As they get together this Saturday in Ann Arbor, God's country, in that magnificent stadium, the greatest stadium in America. For what I said before, and I'll repeat it, should be a classic. We look forward to it.
Well, I want to thank you, Coach, for sitting down with me and talking to me about this. I look forward to the next time that we get to do it.
We're going to do it again. We're going to do it again. We'll do it again for the play before the championship game, and then hopefully people like what we say. We're gonna speak honestly, tell them how we feel, and tell them about our experiences, and hopefully it's fun for the fans. No fans like Michigan fans. Ohio State's close second. Well, they love their team down there, and that's what makes it fun.
Yeah.
That's what makes it fun.
Absolutely. Well, if that's all you got, Coach, I just want to say go Blue.
Go Blue.
And look forward to the next time we talk. Hopefully we got a W under our belt when we're talking about the Big Ten championship.
I love you, Rob. Thanks.